Washington Square On Air is the audio town square for the Washington Square Review, Lansing Community College's literary journal. Writers, readers, scholars, publishing professionals, citizens of the world gather here and chat about all things writing. Hey there, this is Melissa Ford Lucken, editor for the Washington Square Review. I'm here today with Jeffrey MacLachlan, who has been with us before about a year ago. Today, he's going to be talking about his poem, 5 Stones, which will be in the summer 26 issue. Hey there, Jeffrey.
Hello.
So tell us about this poem.
Well, 2 summers ago, my family and I went to Europe for a family vacay, and the impetus for it was to see our family's castle, the ruins in the Highlands, and the poem was a response to that day when we finally got to the castle.
How did it feel when you finally got to the castle?
It felt incredible because I've ever since, because I'm old now. I remember, in high school on dial-up, looking up what the castle looks like, and so it's just existed as a picture online for my entire adult life, and then to finally see it in person, it was like the end of a long journey.
This might be an odd question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it, especially since you've been here before. What did it smell like? The whole place.
It smelled just lovely. It had all of just, because it's on the moors, it gets plenty of water, and so just because it's a historical site, it's other than the path, to walk to the ruins, every natural flower and plant and tree that's been on those grounds since the medieval times are still there. And so just the sensory experience, you don't feel like a lot of historical sites are super gentrified for the tourist experience. Like the Great Wall of China, most of it was made 15 years ago. Like you have to go out into the very obscure deserts to find any actual remnant, but walking to the castle, it really did feel like traveling back in time on that property.
How far did you have to walk?
It's not too far. The main problem is it's not really by any major town because it's out in the country. And so we had our whole family. So we had rented a minibus from the Highlands Airport, and we're going down these country roads that are built for motorcycles or at most kind of micro cars. And so we had missed where it was, and so it was like a 75-point turn to go back.
Mm-hmm. I asked about the smell because that is something, like you mentioned dial-up and seeing it so you can see it, but you never really know what something's going to smell like until you get there. And for me, the smell is such a big part of it. And, the plants and just the water and everything, being there in person, it's just completely different.
I wish my niece, who was 1.5 at the time, I would have been happy to just stay there and hang out all day, but we're on a time crunch. You're on the toddler's
yes
timeline.
Yes, it's tight window of pleasantness. How long were you there?
At the castle, probably Probably like an hour-ish, hour and a half.
Okay. How big is it?
It's quite. If it wasn't ruins, it'd be much bigger. But there's quite a bit of places to poke around in if you are a bit adventurous, which I am to my own detriment because it's so, you get the breeze right off the moors. Like things are slick, and there for one terrorizing moment when I was peeking down through a window, I had absolute zero traction, and I felt just my entire being plummeted down the hole. And luckily, I had slipped so much that I just fell on my back, which didn't feel great, but I took that over
Yeah.
because there are no hospitals. You're just there. Now you're in a hole.
Right. That would not be good.
No.
Yeah, people would have to realize you were gone and then find you in the hole. So there would also be a pause there.
Luckily, my brother was with me. And,
Oh, okay. He would have gotten to witness the whole thing.
Too, because he saw that I had lost all balance.
So let's talk a little bit more about the poem. Did you write it while you were still on the trip, when you got back?
Yeah, I wrote it when I got back. The I was really excited to write it because a lot of times, most of my work, I get like a voice is speaking to me, or I'm thinking, how would X person feel in this? And for this was ripped right from my life, and those are always the most special for me, partly because it usually results in work that my parents read and understand because they have some sort of grounding for it.
Mm-hmm.
I've grown used to the response. That's really cool. I don't know what it's about.
Do they read poems outside of your work?
No.
Okay, that could be it. So,
Yeah.
How do you process that when they're like, I don't know what this says?
It's fine. It's like the I mean, part of it is like my mom mostly reads kind of memoir nonfiction,
Okay.
and my dad doesn't read at all. And so I don't feel bad. It's similar if your relative is a painter,
Mm-hmm.
and the last time you thought about painting really was in high school for art appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
and now here's a gap of a century
Mm-hmm.
of movement and conversations.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but for those of us that write longer works like novels, by comparison, your people are not going to read your novel. I could see reading your poem because they could do that while they're like waiting for the coffee, right, to percolate. But family and family members are probably not going to just read your novel just because they know you.
No, they won't.
Yes, that certainly has not been my experience. Which
It's the this is like a old joke, like the worst thing you can hear from your friend is, "Hey, I'm in a play. Will you come see it?" Like, no.
I don't know. I would go if my friends were in plays. I would go see them.
I would too, but I think for your average person, the idea that again, the last time I read a play was The Cherry Orchard my freshman year, and now I'm going to go to something I don't. I teach a novel by Sinclair Lewis called Main Street, and I quite like that novel. And the main character, who's a young woman in rural Minnesota, it's like Sisyphus pulling up the boulder, because she gets this idea of, I'm going to bring X artsy thing to this town and everyone's going to love it. And then she's forever disappointed. And like, she puts on a play and she knows it's a total disaster. And the local paper, all they say is, everyone was just as good as the actors you'd see in New York. And it's like a certain level of depression sets in when you know you produce bad art and then no one around you knows the difference anyway.
Last time I talked to you, we did talk a little bit about art and the posters that inspired you to write some work then, and that kind of floated off into us talking about historical influences in your life. How is that stuff going?
Great. I'm pretty much done with a new manuscript, and this isn't the focus, but what got it started. I went to the Montgomery Art Museum last May because for the century anniversary of Gatsby, they did, the art museum put up the paper dolls that Zelda had made later in life.
Oh, neat.
And I was just fascinated by these paper dolls because, like, in my head I'm picturing scrap paper and scissors, but she was such an amazing woman. Like, she had no formal training in anything other than ballet, and she did these, they're like professional, like just incredible pieces of art. And they put out a book. The family did. I forget their last name, but it's the daughter's family. They're no longer Fitzgeralds, and put out a book of all of her paper dolls that she made, and most of them had to deal with the King Arthur mythology.
Oh, okay.
And the French court.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me, I realized, like, other than like adaptations for like cartoons when I was a child, I never actually read any of the original French. Well, obviously I don't speak French, but like the translation of the original French Arthurian legend by Chrétien de la Troyes, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So I just started reading all of and it was just so fascinating. The Percival was the one that stood out to me, because he's a dunce. Such an interesting character. He is basically brought up in a poor household with a single mother, and he's, through a bunch of random coincidences, he ends up as an Arthurian knight. And before he goes off on his adventures, you know, his mom tries to instill a Christian foundation in his ideology, and so she's like, so always remember, whenever you stop in a town, go to the church and pray. And he says, great, what does a church look like? And so he goes, it's the biggest building in the town. Oh, okay. And you're gonna need to find, and then you're gonna need to win a woman's heart. And he's like, well, how do I do that? You save her from danger, and then she will pledge her loyalty to you and then become your wife. And so it starts off a chain reaction of misadventures, because he goes to the nearest town and he just goes into mom says I gotta pray, in the biggest building. And it was the home of a woman who's married to a knight. And he's like, you're in danger. She goes, what? And then quote unquote saves her from nothing and says, now you're my wife. And you have to, and so Like what makes it so fun is he follows the chivalric code um, to the letter, and then it ends up causing all this mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote a couple poems based on those characters, um, and it just ended up um, expanding into, because like all of these characters in these Arthurian tales are always like, in order to be loved, you have to risk death. That masculinity is only real if it threatens your life in some way. And so I started thinking about characters who are obsessed with death in terms of proving something. And so that became the kind of theme I was working with.
Mm-hmm. What did you come up with?
Um, the a lot of aside from the medieval stuff, a lot of poems that deal with technology and how that's warped our opinions of what death is. One poem published by Brown um, takes place in the near future, where funeral homes use AI to auto-generate obituaries before people are even dead.
Oh, okay.
And so, and another one I wrote recently, like a week or so ago, has the voice of the like social media influencer, but the video they're making is during the climate apocalypse, and so they never break character, no matter how, no matter that their life and everyone else's lives are being threatened.
Mm. What was the tone? Was it dark or was it darkly humorous? How did that go?
Yeah, the tone, the what makes something horrific or horror is if the main character doesn't know that it's horrific or horror. They think they're just having an average day.
Mm-hmm.
And so the what makes it horrific is that, unlike Hollywood, like I always think of Independence Day, that with the threat of mass extinction, countries and people put their differences aside for the greater good. And I don't really think that's true. And so it's funny in a way that someone is so obsessed with their own social media persona that they don't even let reality at all enter in at any moment. Mm-hmm. So that is funny, but like not in a thigh slapping sort of way.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. I also appreciate what you said about horror, the difference of when somebody doesn't know something's happening and they think it's, just every day, but there's actually something else completely going on at the same time. Talk a little bit about your coursework right now, what you're teaching and how your students are doing.
I started a new course this past year because last summer the Georgia College started an honors composition 1 course, and they emailed me and said, we're going to start that in the fall if you want to do it. And up until now, I have basically avoided teaching Comp 1. Okay. Because I loathed it as a grad student, like a grad instructor. I didn't really believe in any of the assignments. I didn't feel like they were like, they're good in theory. Like, I remember one of them, like, investigate something going on campus, like go out in your community. But most students don't want to do that. And it's like, and then the actual problems that they had don't really translate into necessarily a compelling essay. Like one person, I remember one student was like, there's a sidewalk piece that's always broken and it's always dangerous. And I'm like, that is a problem. However, I don't know how you write a 4-page essay that the school should fix the sidewalk piece. And also it's like the whole point of that is to like argue a position. Who's going to argue against? Yeah, let's make this place more dangerous. So I jumped at the opportunity because I realized I could build it from the ground up into assignments that actually mean something. And so the I have it so there's 3 units. The theme of the course is the foundations of American rhetoric. So the students read 3 books about where did American ideas of things come from? So we talk about the transcendentalists and pragmatism, and the assignments for each of the unit is for students. So like the first book is about transcendentalism and pragmatism, et cetera, and then so the essay assignment is to select an advertisement marketing material in some way and unpack the American ideas embedded in the DNA of the rhetoric. And so we look at another unit, look at American political rhetoric. And so then they pick a political advertisement to unpack in terms of what is propaganda about it. And it was the maiden voyage. So again, I just made all this up. So I don't know if this is going to work or not, but it went way better than I could have possibly imagined.
Okay. Why do you think it went so well?
I think because I think part of it is that with the internet the way it is now, like when I was their age, you might have like a banner ad on a website, maybe, but it was mostly a kind of commercial-free zone. And since students live their lives on their phones, they're inundated with marketing material, like even within the feed itself. And so I think even though the material is dense and I had to help them through it, they're already familiar with nonstop marketing.
I see what you mean.
And so now they have the tools of where some of these ideas came from. And so they were already halfway there before I got there.
Sure, just by being exposed to it and knowing where it shows up in context.
Yeah.
You said there were 3 units. What was the third one?
The third one is it's the book about the way things are gendered. And so for that one, have students pick an advertisement that has a specific masculine or feminine audience and why that is.
Okay. And so for the advertisements, those could be video ads, paper ads, any kind?
Yeah. Most the picked commercials from YouTube, but some picked the kind of like quote unquote spawn con, aka here's a video, but I'm telling you up front, I don't really believe anything I'm saying. And I find that so interesting because there's a certain, I don't know, there's like a total mind warping effect where if I'm upfront that I'm lying, that makes me more authentic. It doesn't work for me, but it works for someone, because otherwise I wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think it works for some people?
I think because there's a weird parasocial relationship people have with quote unquote influencers, like that I think is different. Even though it's the same kind of concept as, you know, celebrity or athlete endorsed products, I I feel it's different in a way because the if I buy, like, if I get Jordans, um, at no point do I think I'm going to ever be friends with Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Um, he's just the best at this thing, and I want to show that I'm the best at a thing, and they look nice. Whereas, like, I think with the internet culture, because I remember I was reading an article in the New Yorker about streamers, like video game streamers.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing when they interview people who are like big into that in terms of like watching, they kept saying over and over again, I feel like he or she gets me, which I find so odd because, you know, Jordan, you know, growing up, he was like a real life superhero. Like, I loved him. It was so awesome to watch. But like, I never thought we were cool with each other or anything. He is a big star and I'm a kid child on a couch.
Mm-hmm. So they're finding a connection there, at least from their end. You know,
Right.
saying
So
this person
there's
gets me.
already a kind of personal connection, quote unquote, that like we're friends. He would like, sure, he or she are getting paid to say this, but they wouldn't do something that would be bad for me.
Mm. Okay. Interesting to do some research on that. See what you came up with. Or not, not you. I'm not giving you a homework assignment.
I was gonna say, full disclosure.
Yeah.
I only learned about these people through the New Yorker. That's like my boomer, like.
No, the you in this sentence was someone out there someone who needs a project, a research project. And they can.
There's a recent New Yorker article on Hassan Piker, who I'd never heard of before, and I was just kind of in absolute disbelief when it's like the reporter was interviewing him, and like people are hanging out like in the chat room of his video game / politics streams for 12 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's one of those times where I'm not that old, but I felt like I just crash landed into a different planet when I read that.
Yeah. I think sometimes people just turn it on and, leave it on, and it's happening. I don't know if you know Queso. He has a stream, and people will send him different random items in the mail, and part of the show is him opening the items that people have sent him in the mail.
Is he like a video game person too?
He's a streamer. I don't think.
Okay.
He's just a, as far as I know, a personality. I have
God.
revealed my lack of knowledge, I'm sure, by bringing this topic up, but it just made me think of this person, and people sending him stuff, and he opens it up, and it's can go on for an hour and a half or something. So
I mean,
it's funny though. I gotta admit, I like watching it. I'm not getting ready to send him anything, and I don't think he gets me. But
in the one New York article about like streamer culture, pretty much everyone who like makes a living doing it, their doctors all said the same thing, which is you've got to think of something else to do before you hit 40, because this is doing lasting, irreversible damage to your body sitting.
oh, I could imagine that. Yeah. Yes. I don't even know what else to say. But yeah, sitting in one position all day, that's not going to be good. So the trick would be to transition out into something else, but I don't know if anyone's done that yet. So
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is like, if you're like a pro athlete,
Mm-hmm.
you have the season, right? That is when you're publicly facing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a streamer, it's you have to just never stop
Okay.
ever.
Yeah. There's not a natural seasonal cycle to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's well accepted that athletes have an expiration date, due to the physical hardship on,
Yeah. Um,
most
the
athletes, not all of them, you know.
right, I mean, so if you're naturally charismatic, you can transition into a broadcast thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've ever heard interviews with pro athletes, most of them are not particularly engaging individuals. They're just really good at catching a ball.
Well, I guess, if you can do it, that's
Yeah.
what you got. So,
Yeah.
for sure. What kind of stuff are you working on now?
Um, I'm finishing up the manuscript. It's titled "You Should Have Died Years Ago," and
Oh, see, that's darkly funny.
yeah, and it's set up so that like for the sections, it's like first attempt, second attempt, and each right now because a lot of it has to do with spirituality and what does spirituality offer in terms of psychological benefit, staring down the reaper, I'm halfway through. I started it the other night. I've actually never read Paradise Lost until now.
Okay.
um and it is just I know this is like the hottest take on 17th century poem, but it's just incredibly fascinating. The thing I find most interesting about it is that because the foundational texts it works from are not very compelling in terms of narrative. I mean, it's a clear downgrade from the Hellenistic pagan tales to Jesus and his band of bums walking around and his apostles not really knowing what he's ever saying ever. Everything he says is, "What do you mean, Jesus?" And so, I mean, uh, Paradise Lost takes the exciting adventures of the Greco-Roman gods, but it hits the brakes whenever things get too exciting. It's like there's a huge battle between the heavens angels and hell's demons, and then it said, but heaven's victory was never in doubt because God's great and he saw the whole thing happen. Like it makes sure to let you know nothing's really at stake here, and so this isn't replicating the pagan narrative where some gods go up, some go down, some get punished. He makes sure to telegraph the speaker over and over again, God's not going to lose, so don't worry. And you also see, like, the other interesting thing I've noticed is it kind of retcons in terms of like modern parlance of Genesis, because in Genesis, God uses the first person plural. He says we. God doesn't use the singular until Exodus, which is like 600 years later or something.
Okay.
So I was wondering how Milton would finagle a monotheistic religion that starts with multiple gods with the we, And he does it by it's fun, and also kind of like, it turns out when God said we, Jesus was with him the whole time.
Okay.
So a early the foundation in the Torah, actually Jesus is there, even though so technically Jesus is in the Old Testament, but you just can't hear him.
Okay. That does make logic sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody wants to follow you online and see what you're up to and see how this project turns out, where's a good place for them to find you?
I'm on probably I don't even bother mentioning my Twitter anymore because no one uses it really.
Okay.
And so I'm mostly posting on there for myself to make myself laugh because everyone abandoned it. So I post I was recently the chapbook version of the manuscript is shortlisted at Vanity Papers at Oxford University, and so I'm on there on Insta at Jeff_MACK. I recently reposted that.
Okay. All right. Beautiful. We'll be sure to add that to the show notes. Cool. Well, thanks a lot for coming on today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a lovely conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for stopping by the audio town square of the Washington Square Review. Until next time, this has been the Washington Square On Air from Lansing Community College. To find out more about our writers community and literary journal, visit lcc.edu/WSR. Writing is messy, but do it anyway.